And welcome to the Music Free Static podcast. I am Pearl Stalker, and I am so happy to have you here. It is great to restart this podcast. It's been, I think it was 2015 since the last podcast here on Music Free Static. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube who totally forgot you were subscribed, hey, welcome back. So, hey, let's talk about what this reboot of the Music Free Static podcast is going to be, and why I'm doing it, all of those fun things about the podcast. So for those of you who are running into this who don't know me, I'm Pearl Stalker. I am the host of the Music Free Gaming channel, where I play video games on the internet for the amusement of others, primarily Minecraft, because I love Minecraft. It's fun. But there's a bunch of stuff that comes up while I'm streaming, things that I'd like to talk about that I just don't have. I'm not going to say I don't have the time. It's that I don't have the mental capacity at the time to talk about, because I've got so much else going on. Usually I just get distracted by the game. It's hard to get into an in-depth discussion of Star Wars while also trying to build a redstone and contraption of some sort in Create Mod. So this podcast is a way for me to talk about that stuff, share some of my interests in a way that I'm not totally distracted by what I'm streaming. So let's talk about some of the things I'm interested in that I'm going to be talking about here. So things you can expect me to talk about, tech. I will definitely be talking about tech. Not necessarily in depth, definitely not breaking news. Oh, Google did this, or Chat AI is taking over the world, or anything like that. But I may talk about AI. I may talk about social media. Definitely going to be talking about that, actually. Don't expect me to dive in deep to, here's how you create containers in Docker. Okay. I've done that before. I'm done with that type of thing. Don't have to worry about that. It should all be pretty accessible. Again, this is just stuff I'm totally into. I am a systems administrator. I'm a programmer, so tech, really, I'm into that type of stuff. But you're also going to see a lot of Star Wars, see a lot of Marvel, because Star Wars is my favorite movie universe, I guess is the way to put it. So I'll be talking a lot about that, especially when the Ahsoka show comes out, things like that. I'm going to be all about it. Marvel, that type of thing. Now, here's the thing, though. Talking about Marvel and Star Wars, I detest the movie theater experience. Okay? Especially down here. I live in a small town, and the people who go to the theater like to be loud and raucous. And I remember we went to see Spider-Man No Way Home. That was the last movie I saw in the theater. And anytime somebody new showed up, the whole crowd cheered. Anytime that person said something either iconic or some callback to another movie or whatever, the crowd cheered. It just made it really hard. I just wanted everyone just to hush so I could watch the movie. Now, I understand if I were to go to something like an Alamo Draft House, that's not an issue, but I don't have one anywhere near me, and I don't want to pay their prices. So, while I will be talking about Marvel movies, I'm not going to get to see them for 45 days or whatever it is until after the movie goes and hits Disney Plus. That's just how it's going to go. Same with Star Wars movies. As much as I love Star Wars, they are definitely not going to make it into my eyeballs immediately. It's going to have to wait till they hit Disney Plus. I'm also going to be talking about some cultural things, just whatever fun stuff comes up, different movies, sometimes different shows, talking about fandom, that type of thing. So lots of fun stuff there. And I'll probably talk about things like self-care, talk about some of my issues with depression and how I've been getting through that. some of the stuff that's just on my mind and I want to talk about in oral form, right? I actually want to talk to you about it, right? For my subscribers over on Ko-fi, I do a blog every week or every couple of weeks, depending on what's going on, where I'll talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff on the stream. Some of that may creep in here, but this is a chance to sort of share some of those experiences, some of the other stuff going on with everybody. And then there may be other things, just whatever I feel like talking about. Again, this is a chance for me to just talk about what I want to talk about without having to worry about having a game to play at the same time. What you will not see on this podcast is politics. Music Free Static used to be a political podcast years and years ago. They said that the last podcast was 2015, and it was mostly tech. I got fed up dealing with politics, the hate, the vitriol, and the general overall ickiness of all of it. Now, that's not to say there might not be a political comment or two that crop up. This is me, just sort of randomly talking about stuff, but politics is not going to be a focus. I don't want it to be a focus. I just don't. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Okay? It's not to say that I'm not interested in politics. I don't still follow it. But more from the periphery, I don't want to dive into it. So politics is right out. I'm not going to be talking about the presidential election. I'm not going to be talking about Colorado politics because I live in Colorado. Colorado politics is sort of important to me, but not on this podcast. Just so we're all clear, again, for those, for the couple of you that are still subscribed on YouTube from the political days, hey, here's your chance to unsubscribe. But, please don't, because it's going to be cool. We're going to talk about some cool stuff. Hey, let me get a couple of facts out of the way, too. First, why the name Music Free Static? This is actually a way for me to honor my dad, actually, in some ways. So, when he was in college, he was a DJ. And as a joke about how low power the radio station was, he called his show Music Free Static. Because he says basically the radio station was so low powered that you could barely get to the music. It was just static, right? When I was starting up a podcast, I thought that name, Music Free Static, would be a perfect name for a podcast. It's talking, so there's no music. It's on YouTube, and I don't want to deal with the MCA nonsense. And it was static because it just made sense. So, hey, Music Free Static it is. And, I said it's a great way for me to honor my dad in that way. So that's the history of that. Now, as I mentioned, this is all the stuff I didn't get to or just wasn't able to talk about on Music Free Gaming on my live streams. So why not make this a podcast, like the Music Free Gaming podcast? And that's sort of a harder discussion, okay? Because I thought about that. I thought about that a lot when I was fighting over this. And basically it comes down to YouTube, ultimately. YouTube's main, I don't know how to put this. The way they tell you to deal with your channels is if you have the same audience, put your content on the same channel. But if you have a different audience, create a new channel. Channels are cheap. Okay. I mean, it really. And the way YouTube's algorithm works is if people skip videos, right? So if they're watching a channel, if you're subscribed to a channel and you skip a video, YouTube will be less likely to recommend videos from that channel in the future. Okay? Wonderful. Or, well, less so in my opinion, but I understand where YouTube is coming from. So for those of you who like watching the streams, like watching the gaming content, Maybe they don't want to listen to me ramble for 20 minutes or half an hour about topics. So they're going to skip the podcast. And because of that, they may end up skipping or missing my gaming videos, which is really what my focus is on. This is just sort of a side gig for the moment, right? Hey, maybe it'll blow up and be huge and music-free gaming will be the side gig. Who knows? But that's the way YouTube handles it. And a real world anecdote comes from the Imp and Skiz channel. So for those of you who aren't in the Minecraft world, Impulse SV is one of the larger Minecraft YouTubers. He's on Hermitcraft and all this stuff. And his best friend, Skizzleman, is another YouTuber and streamer. They've been friends forever, and they set up a YouTube channel for their combined content. Okay, the Imp and Skiz channel. Fun stuff. Okay. They decided to do a podcast together. And surprisingly enough, they called it the Imp and Skiz Podcast. They launched it on their Imp and Skiz channel. And it started hurting the metrics of their gaming videos because of all of the stuff I just mentioned. People were skipping the podcast, and then YouTube stopped showing them the gaming videos on their homepage. Okay, so they eventually started an Imp and Skiz podcast channel. Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to do the same thing, but I would kind of like to avoid that. And in all honesty, this podcast is not dependent on music-free gaming. You know, whatever I'm doing over there, it's mostly Minecraft, but whatever I'm playing there isn't entirely relevant to what I'm talking about here. If I decide to go deep on Star Wars one week, okay, great, wonderful. What does that have to do with Minecraft? Nothing. So, unless I'm talking about Star Wars in Minecraft, I don't know. But honestly, different audience potentially. So that's the idea, is that this channel is going to be a place for me to talk about all that stuff. And by making it a separate channel and reviving Music-Free Static, I don't have to worry about that. Okay, I don't have to worry about this channel's performance hurting music-free gaming, which is what I really would like to grow. All right, so that's sort of the gist of it. I sort of mentioned it in passing. I don't expect these podcasts to be very long. I'm kind of shooting for something in the 20 to 30 minute range. Okay, some things I'm sure if I start talking about a movie review, right, bringing back what I had on my website on musicfreestatic.com, the really late movie reviews, well, those are almost certainly going to run a little bit longer. But then there are some videos and some podcasts, this one in particular is probably going to be shorter. Okay, cool. You know, I'm not trying to set a goal of it must be 30 minutes and we're done. No. Okay. It'll be as long as it needs to, or as short as it needs to be. My primary platform for this podcast is YouTube. If you want to see the video of me and my talking hands or whatever, that's the place to go. But once I get the first episode or two uploaded to places, I will be getting it pushed out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, you know, all of those places where you would expect podcasts to be. So that may take a little while. You know, a couple of weeks is not unheard of. So it may go faster. Who knows? But YouTube is the place I'm uploading it first. It will be the place to go if you want to see the video of me. Then again, that may not be a real selling point. Maybe you don't want to see me. Just pretend that I'm actually a suave, handsome, debonair, whatever, rather than a middle-aged fat man. I don't know. But anyway, so that is the master plan. Is go through stuff. I've got a whole list of topics lined up. It'll be fun. So thanks for hanging out with me as I get this podcast started. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm hoping too that as I get later on, I may be able to have guests on. I don't know technically how any of that is going to work, but we'll see. I fully expect that to be months down the road. So we're not going to worry about that too much today. I think that is going to just about do it. So thank you all for listening to episode 0 of the Rebooted Music Free Static podcast. I'm looking forward to doing these. And until next time, be excellent to each other. This is Music Free Static signing off.